What's up, guys? Steve here, I1 Fitness. I want to talk a little bit today about bodybuilding dieting and just dieting in general from a very basic layman perspective, okay? I'm not a scientist or a guru. But the brass tacks of putting on size or cutting weight and some of the things that people overlook when they're eating, I'll talk a little bit about that today. First of all, if you're trying to put on size, if you're trying to put on muscle, if you're going in the gym, when I say bodybuilding, it doesn't have to mean competitive bodybuilding. If you're working out in the gym on a regular basis to put muscle on your body, to build your physique, then you're building your body. So as far as I'm concerned, that's bodybuilding. You know, some people are into powerlifting, so you can call it what you want. Fitness, I don't care what you call it. The bottom line is this. If you're trying to put on muscle, you've got to eat at a calorie surplus. A surplus above your maintenance level. If you're trying to lose weight, you've got to eat at a calorie deficit. A deficit below your maintenance. So go on Google, go on MyFitnessPal, wherever you got to go. Get a calculator, a BMI calculator, whatever. Put in the basic information, your height, weight, whatever, your age, your activity level, and figure out what your maintenance calories are. Once you do that, you can kind of go in and start tweaking on it for your goals, okay? If you're trying to cut some weight and your maintenance calories are 2,000 calories a day, which is what you see a lot of times on packaging, because I think they just base it on the average person, 2,000 calories is an average number. But you need to figure out what's right for you. And of course, people vary from person to person as to what your metabolism is and these different factors. But on a basic level, it kind of falls around these parameters. So if you're trying to drop some weight, get yourself at a deficit. Maybe it's only 200 calorie deficit. You don't have to go, you don't want to go to a ridiculous, you don't want to start a diet if you're eating 2,000 calories a day and drop all the way down to 1,000. First of all, you're going to have a hard time sustaining a life on that low of calories. Second of all, if you drop it all at once, you're going to have nowhere to go if it plateaus. And ultimately, just like muscle building, losing weight also hits plateaus. So when you hit a plateau, you want to be able to adjust it by another 100 calories or so. And you can't do that if you drop it all at once. So doing some kind of crash diet is only going to have success for so long, and then you're going to hit a wall, and then you're going to have no place else to go, because then you're going to be in starvation, and you can't do that. I would recommend eating throughout the day, not starving yourself to death. That's not the way to do it. In fact, if anything, that's going to stall your metabolism, because your body needs something to chew on, and if you eat incrementally, some believe that that keeps the metabolism moving. It gives it something to work on throughout the day. It gives you energy to use throughout the day. If you stop eating altogether, it goes into more of a protective mode of, I'm starving to death and I need to save this, so it's just going to store it as fat. So a lot of times you might get skinny from it, but you're going to get what they call skinny fat. You're going to have skin and low muscle tone, because your body's going to eat everything on it, in itself, and store what it can save for later. So I wouldn't recommend not eating. I mean, that's a silly way to go about things. You just have to control. You have to realize that any of this stuff, you have to be in it for the long haul. Okay? There are no quick fixes. The lies you see on TV about building lean muscle mass while cutting weight, that's a bunch of malarkey, okay? It just doesn't work that way. And this 20-minute abs and this overnight fat loss and lose belly fat and all this garbage, there is no targeted fat loss. You lose fat everywhere. There is no such thing as, I just want to take off fat in this one spot. How in the world does your body know the difference? It doesn't know the difference, okay? It's ridiculous. And if you got to look past that garbage that they sell you on TV. They'll sell you anything, because that's what they do. You have to get realistic about your goals, and you have to realize it's going to take time. I mean, if you're overweight, how long did it take you to get that way? To get to where you are now? It took you years, maybe. It took some serious time, at least. It's not going to come off any faster than it went on, okay? Because it takes time to make the mess. It takes time to clean it up. But it's the same thing with bodybuilding. If you're looking to put on muscle, it's not overnight. You're not going to do it overnight. You've got to be in this thing. You've got to commit to it. You've got to decide, I'm going to be doing this for the next couple of years before I really start to reap the benefits. And you've got to eat in order to make gains, okay? There's guys I've seen coming in the gym for 3 years. They don't look any different Because one, either they're not training optimally, they're not training with enough intensity, they're not maximizing every set, or they're not eating enough food, and they think they are. Well, I can't eat the food, it's hard. But hey, listen, you got to eat the food. You got to find a way. You got to get a habit of it. You got to, that's the way it has to be. If you're a hard gainer, if you're a young kid with a high metabolism and you weigh 130 pounds and you're 6 foot tall, you're going to have to eat 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, maybe. And if that doesn't work, eat a little bit more. You might be able to get away with eating some cheeseburgers and pizza if you're young like that. You have a really fast metabolism. Now, if you're the kind of person that looks at food and gains weight, I wouldn't recommend eating a bunch of pizza and everything else. You have to, put it all in perspective. You have to look at your activity level. Okay? A guy who sits at a desk all day or drives a truck is not going to burn the same calories as a guy who digs a ditch or is a brick mason, or maybe someone who walks all day on their job. Okay? They're going to burn a lot more calories. They're going to have to eat a few more calories. If you sit in the desk all day, that's a sedentary life, and you're going to have to factor that into the caloric intake in a day. But the bottom line is this: if you're trying to lose weight, you got to cut those calories. You got to be at a deficit. You got to stay and maintain a deficit. So figure out what your maintenance calories are, which is easy to do. There are calculators online. And then drop below that a couple hundred calories and work at a consistent day. And it's not that hard to do. Okay, eat clean. Some people say, well, if I have to be at a deficit, I barely can eat anything, I'm going to be hungry all the time. Well, clean up your food. Okay, if your food is clean, you can eat a lot more of it. Okay, I'll post a picture of some fish, some tilapia and rice and broccoli I made. It tasted fantastic. It's not like it has to be rice cakes, and food can still taste good. Okay, and those meals in their entirety might have had 400 calories in the whole thing. Okay, but they had all the other nutrients that I needed. Okay, you can clean your diet up. You can eat 4, 5, 6 meals like that a day, and still be in a deficit. Or if you're bodybuilding, you can still get in a surplus eating like that. Now, you might could get away with a little. I don't eat perfect all the time. I like to figure if you eat 80% clean and 20%, okay, you do what you want a little bit. But you got to look at your body. You got to look at your results. You got to kind of track it as you go and see what's happening. And don't just trust the scale, because water weight varies day to day. Look in the mirror, see what you see. Try to determine, am I still making gains? Am I still losing weight? Whatever your goals may be. But also, you got to be honest with yourself about what you're eating. I think a lot of people are in denial, or you'll hear them say, well, I barely eat anything. I don't know why I'm still gaining weight, or well, because they're not being mindful of what they eat, okay? You got to look at the calories and how dense it is. And I mean, if you eat pizza, it's 300 to 400 calories depending on, for your average slice of pizza. So if you're like me and you can put away 4 or 5 of them, you could eat 2,000 calories in one shot. For some people, that's their whole day's worth of eating. For certain women who have like a 1,200 calorie threshold, they're in a surplus already. They can't eat for the rest of the day. You got to be mindful of that, and you've got to be disciplined. And I want to give you a perfect example. Can of soup, okay? This is a perfect example, and I'll tell you why. Because for me, most of my life, I would take a can of soup and I would figure that is my serving. I'll eat the whole can, no problem. I could eat that in my sleep, right? And I look on the back and I say to myself, 120 calories, 20 grams of total carbs, 7 grams of protein. That's all fine and good. But what you don't look at, what a lot of people don't look at, is the serving size says 2. So now take those numbers and double them. 120 calories becomes 240, and so on and so forth. Be mindful of what the nutritional information says and pay attention to the serving size. It might say 3 or 4 servings in a container. Okay? So you might think you're doing pretty good until you realize you ate the whole container. Okay? You've got to be mindful of how calorie dense something is. You've got to be mindful of what you're eating. If you're looking to cut weight, that's the way it is. You got to have some discipline. But the benefits far outweigh the difficulties or the downsides. The downsides are you don't get to be a frivolous nut job and eat whatever the heck you feel like and be out of control all the time. The upside is you're going to get results if you're losing weight. You're going to get results in the gym if you're trying to put on weight. You've got to eat the food to grow. You've got to do what it takes to achieve your goals. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. It's not that difficult. You just have to be mindful of what you're doing You've got to track your stuff a little bit. I'm not saying, if you're going to compete in bodybuilding shows and things like that, yeah, then you're going to have to start weighing out your food. You're going to have to start. But, this channel is not really catering to the seasoned bodybuilder. The seasoned bodybuilder competitor does not need me. This is for the regular guy, okay? This is for the regular guy who's going in the gym and trying to make something out of himself, or the regular guy or gal who's trying to diet down and lose a little bit of weight. This is for the layman, okay, the regular person. And don't overcomplicate it and make life hard on yourself. Simple. Losing weight, get yourself in a calorie deficit. Start here. If you plateau, drop a little bit more, a little bit more. Do it a little bit at a time, gradual. Be patient. You got to be patient. Okay, it took you a while to get to where you're at. It's going to take you a while to go the other direction. And if you're trying to make gains, you got to be in a calorie surplus. Okay, you got to be a little bit above maintenance. And if you're not gaining weight, you're not putting on size, you're not getting stronger, then add a few more calories. If you're a young person who has an extremely fast metabolism, what they call a hard gainer, and you cannot make gains, up the calories. Don't tell me, I'm upping them, I'm not gaining it, then up them some more. That's the way it works. Your body is designed to operate at a basic level. It's designed to operate with the minimal that it needs to move around and function. If you want your muscles to be bigger than that, to be larger than normal, if you want everything to be more than normal, then you've got to eat more than normal. If you want to achieve extraordinary, you've got to do extraordinary. That's the way it goes. So there is a little bit of an investment. You're going to have to buy the food. You're going to have to cook some food. You can't just, that's the way it goes. It's a discipline, but it's a lifestyle, and it's worth it. I'm telling you, it's worth it, because you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to be able to achieve your goals. So that's what I want to talk about today. Be mindful of the nutritional information. Be very mindful of the serving size. I can't stress that enough. I think that's where people go wrong all the time. They think, I don't really eat anything. Well, look at the serving sizes. Look at what you're really taking in. Did you have a cup? If you go to McDonald's and you have 2 cheeseburgers, that's 600 calories. If you add in fries, you're talking about another 300 probably. Okay, so now you're 6, 7, 8, 9. You get a drink, especially if it's a bad drink like a soda or you're over 1,000. Okay. If your total intake for the day is 2,000, you're halfway there in one meal. You've got to be mindful of that. So don't tell me you're not eating too much, because if you're not paying attention to what you're eating, you're probably more often than you know taking in a lot more than you think. And if you're taking in bad carbohydrates, that's even worse. A lot of stuff is super carb dense, so everything's got carbs in it. It's hard to hit your protein numbers. Very easy to hit carbohydrate numbers, okay? So you got to be mindful of that. That's just the way it is. I hate to break that reality to you, but if you want to make some gains, and you can, and I believe in you, you've got to just take these basic principles and start to apply them in your life. And anything becomes a habit after a period of time. Start applying them week after week. Get used to the idea. It will become a habit, and it'll start to become second nature, and you won't know your life otherwise. So I hope that helps you out, guys, and I hope that you please go down and subscribe to the channel here. I really would appreciate the support. If you have a comment, put a comment. If you'd like me to talk about something else, please email me at i1fitness@outlook.com, or you can put a comment in the box, or you can go over to Facebook at i1fitness or Instagram and leave a comment there. I'd love to talk to you some more about whatever you want to discuss. Anyway, get out there and start your week. Have a good one, and keep driving.